Buick is a little over a century old now. From the early days to about the 50s, they were known for making luxury sedans. In the 60s and 70s, they made powerful muscle cars. But then in the 80s and 90s, they made dreary and boring stuff, except for the Grand National, of course. And it was more of the same in the 2000s. Do you remember the Rendezvous? And they even made a minivan back then. But in the 2020s, they're trying to get back to their old luxury and premium ways. And this is the pinnacle of their efforts, the 2022 Buick Enclave Avenir. So has it worked? Let's go for a drive and find out. The Buick Enclave is only available with one engine, a 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6, and it produces 310 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. What really impresses me most about this engine is that torque figure, because it is reached at just 2,800 RPMs, the peak torque, that is. Usually that low of an RPM range is reserved only for turbocharged engines, not naturally aspirated engines. Usually naturally aspirated engines like this V6 reach their peak torque figure at around 4,000 RPMs, not 2,800. So what this means is that this V6 doesn't really need to rev all that much or strain all that much to get the 2.1 ton SUV body going off the line. Or when you're overtaking another vehicle, just gently roll on the throttle and you won't ever see the RPMs go past 3,000 because you'll already be past the other vehicle by then. Of course, if you push really hard down on the throttle pedal, then the transmission is going to downshift to the lowest possible gear and the RPMs are going to climb all the way up to almost the 7,000 RPM red line. But if you drive like a more civilized, more mature Buick owner, then, like I said, the engine doesn't need to go past 3,000. And speaking of the transmission, it is a 9-speed automatic and the shifts are incredibly smooth. The only time that you will really feel them is if you put the car into sport mode and just behave like a hoonigan. But most Buick owners probably won't be doing that. You can take over shifting with the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. Well, actually I shouldn't call them paddle shifters because they're only about yay big, more like paddle buttons. And they're slow to react. The transmission itself is pretty quick to change gears, but these buttons are slow. Thanks to that 9-speed automatic transmission and active fuel management, which allows the engine to run only on 4 cylinders when cruising, the 2022 Buick Enclave Avenir gets respectable fuel economy numbers. It is rated for 13.6 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. During my time with the SUV, I averaged 11.6 liters per 100 kilometers. Best of all, the V6 does not require premium fuel. Around twisting roads, the Buick Enclave doesn't pretend to be a sporty SUV. It is a luxury SUV first and foremost. That said, it drives with composure through turns. There is some body roll, but it is well controlled by the optional adaptive dampers. Steering weight is on the light side, however it is direct and the car is as stable on highways as a German or Japanese luxury rival. Thanks to the adaptive dampers, the ride of the 2022 Enclave Avenir is exceptional. It's not too bouncy, nor is it too harsh. The Enclave also has tires that have thick sidewalls, which further aid in absorbing bumps in the road. This is also one of the quietest three-row SUVs out there. All trim levels of the Enclave have quiet tuning technology, which is designed to reduce excess noise from entering the cabin. This isn't one specific device, but rather a host of several features, such as insulating materials throughout the body, active noise cancellation from the speakers, hydraulic suspension bushings, and isolated engine cradle to reduce vibrations. The end result genuinely works, as this is one of the quietest and smoothest premium three-row SUVs. Now inside the front seats of the Enclave Avenir, there is an ample amount of space for someone of my height at 6'4". Headroom is more than plentiful. Legroom it's okay, but my knee is perilously close to the dashboard. I can move the seat further back if I want more leg space, but this is as far out as the steering wheel goes. So as soon as I move the seat further back, then my arms become more stretched and it gets tiring on longer journeys. However, shorter people probably won't have this problem. It's more of a tall person problem. As well, with this seat as low as it is, actually it's at its lowest position right now, I still have very good visibility out the front, out the side, and out the back it's okay. The headrests do obstruct some view. But this Avenir trim comes with a rear camera mirror. So you just flip it up and then you get an unobstructed view of the back. That's actually really nice. And that's about it for interior space up here in the front. So let's go check out the back. In the second row of the Enclave Avenir, there is tons of space even for tall adults like myself at 6'4". Behind my own driving position, as you can see, legroom more than plentiful. Headroom is a little bit less than in the front, but still more than enough. Here in the second row, we do get our own little moonroof. It doesn't open, but it does let more light in, of course. These seats, they do slide forwards and backwards as well as recline. They have their own little armrests and they are heated in this Avenir trim. But the Enclave doesn't come with bench seating. Instead, they're just captain's chairs, regardless of which trim level you choose. It's the third row that has the three-person seating. The floor in the second row is completely flat. There are USB ports as well as a power plug, and it's a separate climate zone from the front. And yeah, that's about it for the second row. Now let's check out the third row. Now in the third row, as you can plainly see, adults were not meant to sit back here. But the Enclave does actually have more legroom and headroom than the third row of the Acura MDX and the Infiniti QX60. But still, definitely not meant for adults. However, there are a couple of things I want to mention about this third row and a little bit about the second row. They're more inconveniences. So firstly, the second row actually has a little tab that you can pull on the passenger side seat to make it easier to get in and out of this third row. On the driver's side, it doesn't get that tab. And secondly, these third row seats, they are power folding down and up, and you control them from the trunk, which is nice. But if the seats in the second row are too far back, then these seats cannot fold all the way down. You have to walk to the side, move the second row seats forward, and then walk back to the trunk, and then completely fold flat the third row. In other three-row SUVs, there's enough of a gap between the second row and the third row so that even with the second row all the way back, the third row seats can still fold completely flat. Or there are switches to fold flat the second row seats. But in this one, you have to walk to the side and do that manually. Like I said, an inconvenience. In the trunk, the 2022 Enclave easily beats other premium SUVs for cargo capacity with 668 liters of space behind the third row, 1,634 liters behind the second row, and 2,758 liters of cargo space behind the first row. The 2022 Buick Enclave all-wheel drive starts at $50,098 Canadian, with this Avenir trim costing $62,943 Canadian as equipped. But for that price, you are getting a lot of features in this Enclave Avenir. It has satellite navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay, and wireless Android Auto, both of which work really well, by the way. There's leather upholstery, heated and ventilated front seats, heated steering wheel, a head-up display, rear camera mirror, sunroofs, wireless phone charging, adaptive cruise control, automatic climate control, push-button start. The list just goes on and on and on. There are a few things I want to mention about this interior. The upper portion of it is covered in either soft plastics or soft leather, but the lower portion is hard plastics. You know, the kind that's very scratchy. But I'm okay with that because most of the time you're not going to be touching this harder plastic, and it needs to be tough in case you smack your feet against it. Also, the touchscreen is 8 inches. So even though that this is a top spec trim of the Enclave, it has the exact same screen size as the base model of the Enclave. So a lot of its competitors have 10.25 inch or 12.3 inch touchscreens. And finally, the one more thing that I want to mention about this interior is that it does have 2 sunroofs, although the back one doesn't open, which is fine, but it does let in a lot of light, I should say. And it has a power sunshade, which is great. But the one in the front, it has a manual sunshade, and it sounds very cheap. Yeah, in a car that costs $63,000 Canadian, that's just really cheap. As part of the mid-cycle update for this 2022 model year, the exterior received a fresh new design that makes the Buick Enclave one of the nicest looking 3-row SUVs on the market. Looks are subjective, of course, but I really like the slim LED daytime running lights and the intricate design of the taillights. The car looks premium, but without screaming for attention. However, it could use some larger wheels. Though the Avenir comes equipped with 20-inch wheels, they look small compared to the rest of the SUV. The base trim of the Enclave is equipped with standard automatic emergency braking with front pedestrian braking, lane keep with lane departure warning, blind spot sensors, rear cross traffic alert, auto high beam, rear parking sensors, and follow distance indicator. Does anyone actually use that last one? It seems like there are more and more tailgaters these days. Anyway, the only other features that you can add on, but are standard on the Avenir, are adaptive cruise control and enhanced automatic emergency braking, which can work up to a speed of 160 kilometers an hour, or 100 miles an hour. So in all, the Buick Enclave Avenir is actually a pretty good 3-row SUV. It comes with a lot of standard and optional equipment depending on which trim level you go for. It's very spacious and it's really smooth and quiet. So then, why don't you see that many on the road? Is it because maybe people still remember the Buicks of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s? Or do they still think that Buicks are for pensioners in Florida? I don't know. Maybe if you know, let me know in the comments. Because, like I said, this is actually a pretty good premium feeling 3-row SUV. And if you want to know more about this 2022 Buick Enclave Avenir, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.